Yeah, how's it going? Today is 29th of December, Sunday, and we're gonna be taking a look at the market and what kind of opportunities we might be able to find. In today's video, since it's Sunday, it might be worth taking a look at finances and everything, what's happening with regards to finances, right? So that should be a priority in today's video, but there might be other areas that would be important. To begin, we can take a look at the Prime Minister regulator asks UK's regulators for ideas to boost growth. But to the Prime Minister, let's skip names, the Chancellor and our Business Secretary have written to UK's main regulators asking them to come up with ideas to reform that could boost economic growth. That would be very contracted watchdogs. Sure, sure, including energy regulators. Let's keep names, there might be a lot of companies, right? And water regulators, sure, before Christmas, asking them to submit proposals by mid-January. That would be this comes after figures published earlier this week indicated that UK's economy had flatlined between July and September, and most likely after holidays we're gonna have first quarter where things more likely gonna be flatlined, right? And show's business secretary, let's keep name, said the letter says all of you need to know about Prime Minister's government, claiming he has to begin his own government to create growth after Labour's damaging budget. If anything, we're taking a look at perhaps at regulators, and as of now, we're taking a look at water companies and energy companies. Perhaps we can bring other companies into a mix as well as I thought we can, since it's Sunday, we can take a look at banking sector and some of the dominant companies in the banking sector, and we can reflect on how well some of those companies have been performing, and some of those performance been recognized by other governments, not necessarily case government. Banking sector, why UK pay attention to the banking sector and some of the data and or performance of the banking sector other than water and or electricity companies, right? Information that we're gonna be taking a look at, the most likely, some of those companies are performing very well. So perhaps everything what those companies, that's a disclaimer, right? Some of those companies doing very well for a reason, right? They have worked very hard for many years, and now most likely they're reaping benefits of business models they have implemented, right? Once that been said, we need to give a credit to some of those companies as well as in then we're going to be reflecting how well some of those companies actually helping governments. They're actually helping a lot. We're gonna do that in a second, but first let's recognize how well some of those companies are performing, right? That would be some of those Visas and or Mastercards are indicated dominate the global payment processing market, particularly in the credit or debit card sector. However, there are other payments in the market, albeit with the less market share. So potentially we would be taking a look at some of the leading companies and how dominant those market dominant companies might be. And we're going to be taking a look at in overall financial performance perhaps for 2023 or 2024 maybe in just a second. But first, how well some of these companies performing, and it was recognized by I believe it's in United States and Senate, where they were taking a look at perhaps they can reduce their market share or perhaps how much some of those companies are charging people, right? That would Visa and MasterCard operate with the high profit margins due to their business model, which primarily involves transaction processing fees rather than lending. According to a post on some of those social media platforms, Visa has notably have profit margins over 55%, while MasterCard are over 44%. So this is how our profit margins are when it comes to every time when someone potentially uses their card, and how much then they're saying that's a profit margin. That would be system that was built over time, as well as again compared to what, as well as some of those companies are solving a lot of problems for a lot of governments, right? But if anything, we're taking a look at the United States, and this is what United States is doing. Perhaps entire hearing, people should take the time to hear entire both sides of the story. All this kind of things, since those points would be very important, right? As well as let's take a look at some of the articles and some of the additional information available up there, right? That would be some of the people are posting MasterCard is ranking profit margins of 44% and more visas in pocketing over 55%. This is information they're referring to. Briefly, I was taking a look at some of the Senate hearings in the United States where they were discussing the entire process and perhaps some of the changes and how much United States in depth people are and how people would be charged, right, for some of the borrowing, all these kind of things, right? Briefly, let's take a look at some of the financial performance, right? That would be financial highlights, and that would be net revenue, transactions processed using some of those cards, as well as payment volume. So potentially, some of those companies are making 35.9 billion net revenue. But I believe we were taking a look at overall performance of the company and how much money companies made. It was about 6 months ago. Some of the statistics or numbers I was taking a look at, it was completely different. It was completely different numbers, by the way. I don't know which information is accurate and how some of the data might be presented. If anything, that would be information from annual reports and their own company, as well as we can touch on MasterCard and some of the numbers that they have highlighted for 2022. That would be net revenue 22.2 billion, which is up by 18%. Perhaps some of those companies are expanding and they would including more and more governments and in turn increasing their revenue. Perhaps there's a lot of things that we do not have access to certain information, how much clients they might have, all this kind of thing. So perhaps there's more information, but this video is gonna be too long, right? Since other side of the story, that would be potentially how governments would be able to collect more taxes, right? In particular, when we take a look at some of the, not necessarily that would be just an example of BRICS nations and how we're looking to introduce different payment systems. While we're looking to introduce that, perhaps some of the partners include some of the companies may or may not that we have mentioned, as well as when it comes to collecting taxes, some of the important information that would be without naming any of the governments, right, of how much and how payments would be made and how governments would be able to track those payments, right? If people who might be using cash, not necessarily governments would be able to collect taxes of every payment by using cash. So a lot of governments might be looking to encourage more people to use cards, so governments would be able to collect or trace all the time, every single time when people are exchanging payments, right? And we can collect tax off that. So perhaps UK is not interested in taking a look at some of those businesses, even though profits can range between, based on information we're just taking a look at, 55%, 45%. They actually helping a lot of governments by increasing tax revenue. Some of the numbers for some of the governments can be 88% of people making payments using cash and governments not collecting tax off every single time people are making payments. That would be some reflection why governments might not be interested in taking a look at banking system, right? Let's take a look at next article, right? And what kind of information is available when it comes to perhaps on is it nautical cables? I believe that's how some of those internet cables would be that defined as they come under sea, but it happened for a second time now, where ships damaging some of those cables. So people most likely tired from ships damaging some of these cables. And let's try to understand what's happening. That really Mons police boarded Russian-linked ship crammed with spy gear that is suspected of vandalizing key undersea power cables at NATO. Boost Baltic pat, um, patrols. Finnish police and our border guards boarded Russian-linked. We don't know this information, by the way. A ship that was reportedly crammed with spy equipment. We don't know. We don't know this equipment. What kind of equipment? Most likely, we don't know this information as well. As suspected of vandalism and no key undersea cables. So there's a lot of things happening, and we're interested in understanding what's happening there. But anyway, on third suspected oil tanker. Okay, dragging its anchor to rupture of the East Link 2 power link between Finland and Estonia. Since it happened a couple of times already, perhaps there's some people who getting tired from these kind of things repeating. In response to NATO is urgent boosting patrols of Gulf of Finland, a busy seaway, also widely used by Russian owned. I don't know why we need to keep repeating that. The picture shows that the Finnish law enforcement borders the vessel from a helicopter as a Cook Islands registers as 751 foot long. East or Eagle S is suspected to being part of the. We don't know that. Well, let's progress without no propaganda. Can we don't get political? There's a bunch of ships that is constantly cutting all the cables. Right, the high tech equipment on board was abnormal for merchant ship, and all consumer more power from the ship generated, leading to repeat back or blackouts reported by Lloyd's List, citing the source familiar with the vessel. Right, would that be insurance company? May or may not, as well as there might be some financial companies with very similar names. So just but entire article, I'm reading all this information for the first time. For people who do not know, perhaps there might be some pictures. We can take a look at how big the cable is. So it's very hard to cut this kind of cable, as well as how much information, including financial transactions, are going through some of these cables every day. If it happened one time, if it happened second time, now a lot of law enforcement is taking a look at how to make sure it won't gonna happen for a third time. We don't know, or there's a lot of speculation happening in this article, right? Let's take a look at perhaps when it comes to cables, we don't know all this information as well. The entire situation is unraveling, right? If anything, we're trying to understand the full picture of what's happening, since it's constantly happening. People is getting tired from some of those ships, right? It could happen one time, it could happen second time, and people most likely are looking to prevent it from happening for a third time. There might be more information coming out soon, but anything for time being, we don't know nothing about these cables, right? That's, that's the point I was trying to make. Let's take a look at next article that the Polish tractor maker turns into military production. It's something that we published yesterday, December 28th. So perhaps we can take a look at it. It's something myself I'm looking to encourage Lithuania to do. While they're looking to increase the military spending, perhaps we could begin manufacturing sashi or frame themselves. It's something that we were taking a look at. So I thought it might be worth taking a look at this article. That would be perhaps there's the name of this project. Perhaps we can reach out to this company and say hello, if that would be an option. And from tractors into lucrative market of military production. This is something that some of the major car companies have done in the past, right? There are some pictures. Perhaps we can take a look at what information is available. The announcement comes after a factory acquisition by there might be a person's name, a company connected, or a company's name connected to Ukrainian entrepreneur. Okay, that would be for 74 million zloty. Perhaps we can translate that to euros and how much euros that would be, but overall, how and where to source some of that equipment, right? and they might have all the equipment already ready to go. But anyway, after a month of uncertainty for its employees, I don't know if there might be a project name or company's name has confirmed that will pivot from manufacturing tractors to producing military technology. The decision marks the return of the company's historical roots before World War II. There might be name, let's progress, and the company's name progress without those. Manufacturing military equipment, including tank engines, chassis, and all components for the project named motorcycles used by the Polish army, right? If it can do engines, engines might be very complex. If it can do frames, even frames, so I thought let's lower the bar where to begin. Frames, sashes, that would be the best place to begin, and from there progressing into engines or alternative sources of energy, right? But anyway, according to that, there's different, most likely in press media, the plant will no longer produce agriculture tractors, but will instead focus on military vehicle manufacturing. The move aligns with the growing demand for defense equipment in light of the current geopolitical climate. This is a completely new chapter for history in the legacy of factory. The new ownership declares emphasis on plans to preserve existing jobs, recruiting additional specialists, and expand production capacity, which is great. The acquisition of more jobs, more opportunities, all this would be very, very important, right? Acquisition of, I don't know location, I don't know any all these details, right? But anyway, the acquisition of, yeah, purposing and all. There's most likely that's location, I guess, or project name where spearheaded by there's an individual there, but perhaps we can find this individual and say hello. They usually have founders, very interesting people to talk to. But anyway, we identified defense manufacturing as a strategic growth area. Well, this project is traditionally associated with agriculture machinery. It's a shift to military production is viewed as a timely and all lucrative opportunity. I get that's what I mean. What we are reflecting is how much German military equipment manufacturing companies currently are making money to the point where it's a lucrative opportunity. The company aims to leverage Poland's industrial infrastructure and more strategic location to meet the rising demand for military hardware. The transition of this project is part of broader trend of Ukrainian enterprise establishing a footprint in Poland's defense industry. So there were several Ukrainian companies already operating in Poland, producing recommendation drones and all anti-tank missiles and all armored vehicles such as, for let's forget without names. The move is military production reflects the increasing importance of defense manufacturing in Eastern Europe as a region strengthens its military capabilities and responds to evolving security challenges. Since there might be some articles where was UK was encouraged to spend as much as some of the central or more to the east of Europe countries, which we were taking a look at in today's video. We were taking a look at UK's economy, right? So we were beginning today's video. We were taking a look at UK's economy, and economy would need to perform a lot better, and it's something that Prime Minister is taking a look at. Perhaps something that we more or less taking a look at with finances and sector, so UK's economy can perform better. Once it would perform better, perhaps some additional investments can be made in military. If economy is not performing that well, I don't know if we can encourage UK to invest more. Once that been said, we're taking a look at something that Ukraine and perhaps Poland and or central or more to the east of the governments are doing, right? From these projects, this shift not only ensures the factory survival, but also positions it as a key player in Poland's defense sector. So there might be some opportunities. Let's see. Perhaps we can reach out to this company and say hello. There might be some opportunities up there as well as if they might need some of assistance. It's always good to support some of the great initiatives. Perhaps there might be a shift, and there might be a shift back into agriculture sector. Why not? If not right now, perhaps in the future. Thanks for watching. See you next one.